impossible. And useful. Obedient and useful. Our great Nigeria is possible. Our great Nigeria is very possible. For better infrastructure, for better life, yeah, my people. For better roads, yeah, for better hospitals and health, yeah. For lights today, for everything to work for us, for Nigeria. Yeah. No more hunger. Obi for better Nigeria. Obedient and useful. Obedient and useful. Oh yeah, Obi Hausa man, Yoruba man, Igbo man, Middle Belt, Niger Delta. Let us come together for better Nigeria. For better life, for better health, for better road. From consumption to production. Obi adema, Obi adema, Obi adema, Obi akachama, Obi for Nigeria, Obi go to good, Obi follow Obi, Daga 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 daga, Obi Obi. Okay now, ewo, I beg you. Ewo. Oyibo lọ́tọ̀ bẹ̀lẹ̀ wá lọ́tọ̀ ìrọ̀sí lọ́tọ̀ kò wá ní lọ́tọ̀ Mọ̀rítàlá lọ́tọ̀ Ọbásanjọ́ lọ́tọ̀ Ṣàgárí lọ́tọ̀ Buhari lọ́tọ̀ Babangida lọ́tọ̀ Ṣónẹ́kan lọ́tọ̀ Abacha lọ́tọ̀ Abdulsalam lọ́tọ̀ Ọbásanjọ́ lọ́tọ̀ Yar'Adua lọ́tọ̀ Jonathan lọ́tọ̀ Buhari lọ́tọ̀ Peter Obi. Ewo, I beg you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to my evening broadcast. My name is Messier, and you are welcome to Njenje Media TV. How are we doing today? This evening, we want to look at a couple of things that borders on the Nigerian polity and on the Nigerian society. One is the mocking of Dino Melaye and the way he mocked Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it is becoming very obvious that every single day that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be mocked. You know the pirate guys, the pirate fraternity. They also mocked Tinubu. They released a song, a part two of the original song that they did before, and that song did nothing but also to mock Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And some people will say that using the word mocking will be too much of a strong word to use. Maybe actually not. But at least however you look at it, some will consider that mocking, while some will say, well, that is the reality. The young ones are singing with what they see. Just like one of them, APC, somebody wearing an APC cap getting into the market to buy something, and the people say, no, 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 we aren't going to sell anything to you. You better go away from the market. And that individual had no option than to go away, and the rest is history. You know, that's where we found ourselves today. So for many of you who haven't seen that, Dino Melaye in a PDP campaign had mocked Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And in this way, you can actually see that Dino was, in his normal, like in his normal comic fashion. The only thing I keep asking myself is, you see the reason why no one should take these people serious. They go to campaign rather than sell their policies, their ideas to the people as to what they can do in order to get them or get Nigerians out of the quagmire that we are in. They wouldn't do that. Rather than do that, they would basically just come, you know, and mess up, so to say. Honestly, that can only happen in Nigeria. Whereas if you look at the other camp, if you see the other camp, when if for instance, whenever Peter goes somewhere, you see the genuine love, no one is being paid, but here they are mocking an individual, and not only mocking, the two are now fighting. 2 days ago, there was also a leaked audio or a leaked video where Atiku, the issue with his family and how his family has been urging him to run for presidency, blah blah. The kids want to become billionaires. That's what they said with their own mouth. You listen to some of these things, you ask yourself, I beg, who do us this? How did we get to this level of quagmire? How did we get to this point where nothing actually appears to be serious? Here on the screen is Dino Melaye. So you can see that Dino is there rolling on the floor because mimicking what what Bola Ahmed Tinubu does. Recall in Kano, he tumbled. When he won the APC primary ticket, he couldn't raise one hand. That's the point that Buhari helped him to raise the hand. And since he's been campaigning, he's been agbadoing people and cassavaring people everywhere he goes. There is also a superhighway. There is a lot of material. In fact, from all indications, he is becoming more comical than Sabinus. You know, it's you look at this and you think even you find the way they were even laughing. All the governors there were. Now, if would you then compare that to what? Obviously, would you then compare that? Sorry, what's wrong with my camera? I hope it's not the Miloko people that are trying to hack my system, right? I hope the Milokons are not trying to attack me. But compare what you just watched now, the mocking. The only way you can mock Peter Obi is when they actually quote good statistics that make sense. But sadly, they are not capable. What? For some reason, sorry, for some reason, this video is not doing justice. It's actually not working the way I would have loved it to work. For some reason, that's not happening. Please, I would just give me a couple of minutes. Let me see if I can refresh and see if my stuff can come back to normal. Just give me. So let's see if it works. Okay, I think it works better now. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. So let's see if it works. Okay, it works. I think it works better now. Okay. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, it works. Hold on, let me I think it works better now. It works better now. Quickly. So, hold on. You can. Okay. Yes. Okay. It works now. That's fine. Sorry about that. So let me retry that video before the video I played for us before, so that we may get a gist of what I was trying to say. So now, when you look at something like this, you begin to understand what I mean. At one point is that you begin to say that the other individual is being mocked, right? But one is the people, common people like you and I, running amok, really trying to get into what is happening, really trying to get a glimpse of what they consider as the new Nigeria, as a nation being inspired. But you go to the other side, all you can hear is them really fighting one another. So, for those of you joining me, quickly, if you would get the comment section busy by telling me where you're actually joining me from, that would be very helpful. That would be that would be much appreciated. Now, but when you listen to Femi Fani Kayode, recall that this is the same man who at some point said that the reason why he left APC was because they were planning Muslim. Then he supported Atiku. Now he has left Atiku and working for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And he says something like this about a man he worked for before. You know, you kind of see how they destroyed each other. Look at what he said.
Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the ruling APC, has direct ties to drug lords and was used as a conduit pipe to launder their funds. As a final word tonight on the program, how do you convince Nigerians that this is not the true position and that your candidate is fit and proper to lead Nigeria? Don't forget, this is on record for Nigerians, for not for now alone, but for the future.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Well, first of all, Nigerians are
So I don't know when it's become possible for Nigerians to actually demand for medical record of those that want to govern them. I think after 2023, one of the critical areas where the critical mass need to begin to push for is that everyone that desire to become a governor, to become a president, especially the executive roles, executive position, must begin to submit these things. And you
sensible
watch this
people,
guy
decent
in his
people, and
submission.
people that know when rubbish is being spoken to them. There is absolutely no basis for these allegations. It's nonsensical, it's childish, and no Nigerian, no serious Nigerian will take the allegations of a non-binary, sexually conflicted individual and his group making all kinds of asinine allegations against somebody, a crook, somebody that's been proved to be a crook, simply because we've heard the audio tape. Nobody will take allegations from that camp seriously. We will defeat them at the polls in a month's time. We will defeat them squarely and roundly, and after that we'll now look into these allegations, and by God's grace we'll now prosecute this case against this man.
Well, unfortunately, these cases, if they go to court, might not be arrested. So Nigerians may be at a confusion about the based on these allegations, on what to believe, because the court wouldn't have been able to settle it.
They should
the
believe
allegations that this is a con man, this is a fraudulent man.
They
So
should,
it leaves them
they
at a
should
dilemma.
believe the evidence. The evidence has been provided. You do not have the evidence against Ashiwaju. You said he's a convict. You say, or in America, it is a lie. You say he's this, he's that. It is a lie. We have the evidence. We presented it before you. And you know what? The Nigerian people, even if he's not jailed before that time, or arrested before then, the Nigerian people know best. And they know that when they hear the voice of a presidential candidate saying that this is how we stole money, this is how we arranged it, this is what we did, and this is how we did it, and this is how we siphoned funds. I used the word, I believe he used the word covert, something like covert corruption or something like that we don't want overt corruption. In other words, you're indulging in what he called covert corruption. When he says that, that is evidence, and they will judge him for what he is, a crook.
We need to go now.
Okay. For some reason again, it appears I cannot be, this thing is not working again. But I would beg us, pardon me once more. I need to restart these again. Sorry. So I think you can hear me now. I know that one man went to more says that I am muted. No, I'm not. I'm actually not muted. It's just that something appears not to be working. So can you hear me? Something is definitely wrong this evening. I can see the indicator that my phone. No, I don't use I don't use StreamYard. Sorry, this is not StreamYard. Um, for some reason, something is not working out here because I can't even hear myself. Or can I? Okay, you can hear me now. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. One man, thank you very much. Okay, I can't. For some reason, I can't hear myself. Sorry. Oh, now I know my problem. Sorry. Now I know why I'm not hearing myself. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. I see why I can't hear myself. Sorry. I had the earplug that I had. I put in the wrong way, so the earplug was still out, taking the in the system, taking away the sound, so I couldn't hear any feedback. Okay, thank you very much, one man. Thank you for helping me fix that. So what I was trying to say is, if you look at what Femi Fani Kayode was saying, he actually called um, Atiku some, you know, I don't want to be so vain like him to kind of reuse those words that he used against Atiku. I mean, this is a man that he worked for before in 2019. He worked for Atiku actually under PDP, but a couple of months later, this is what he's saying
news
from
that
Atiku.
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the ruling APC, has direct ties to drug lords and was used as a conduit pipe to launder their funds. As a final and your word tonight on the program, how do you convince Nigerians that this is not the true position and that your candidate is fit and proper to lead Nigeria? Don't forget, this is on record for Nigerians, for not for now alone, but for the future.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Well, first of all, Nigerians are sensible people, decent people, and people that know when rubbish is being spoken to them. There is absolutely no basis for these allegations. It's nonsensical, it's childish, and no Nigerian, no serious Nigerian will take the allegations of a non-binary, sexually conflicted individual and his group making all kinds of asinine allegations against somebody, a crook, somebody that's been proved to be a crook, simply because we've heard the audio tape. Nobody will take allegations from that camp seriously. We will defeat them at the polls in a month's time. We will defeat them squarely and roundly, and after that we'll now look into these allegations, and by God's grace we will now prosecute this case.
Non-binary, sexually conflicted individual. Sometimes FKK just like a machine gun. Brrrr. Non-binary, sexually conflicted individual. This is what he just called Atiku. Non-binary, sexual conflicted individual. Now, wow.
Against this man.
Well, unfortunately,
This
these cases, if they go to court, might not be arrested. So Nigerians may be at the confusion about the based on these allegations, on what to believe, because the court wouldn't have been able to settle it.
They should
the
believe
allegations that this is a con man, this is a fraudulent man.
They
So
should
it leaves them
they
at a
should
dilemma.
believe the evidence. The evidence has been provided. You do not have the evidence against Ashiwaju. You said he's a convict. You say, or in America, it is a lie. You say is this, is that? It is a lie. We have the evidence. We presented it before you. And you know what? The Nigerian people, even if he's not jailed before that time, or arrested before then, the Nigerian people know best. And they know that when they hear the voice of a presidential candidate saying that this is how we stole money, this is how we arranged it, this is what we did, and this is how we did it, and this is how we siphoned funds, I used the word, I believe he used the word covert, something like covert corruption or something like that we don't want overt corruption. In other words, you're indulging in what he called covert corruption. When he says that, that is evidence, and they will judge him for what he is, a crook.
We need to go now.
Oh, there. When you listen to these individuals, you just ask yourself, are these guys for real? Are these guys for real? Honestly, are these guys for real? That's the feeling you will get listening to them. However, if you go to the other camp, if you go to the other camp and say, okay, I want to have someone actually say, ask this question, like Rufai asked, how did your man
Let's
you're
go back
supposed
to
to
the
not be
issue of
doing this?
corruption. You
Suddenly
said
everybody goes dumb.
those were just allegations.
Yes.
All the mouth
But I'd like
running,
to know,
everybody goes
how
dumb.
did he make his
Nothing.
wealth? How did
You
he
don't.
make this so much very big wealth that
That
he can afford
and
a
now
bullion
they
van prior to an
this
election in his home?
get his money.
That's a staggering, colossal amount of wealth. How did that wealth come about? Because I think if I check his resume, the last thing I saw was accountant with Mobile. You know, what business does he do? He's been in government for a while. How did he make that wealth? That's one. Two, there's been discrepancies about his age. I ask you, how old is he?
Well, let me tell you, you see, these two questions you've just posed, it's part of what I have answered earlier. I think at this point that we've gotten to, our emphasis should be on the pedigree of this candidate, what he has demonstrated that he has done.
What do you call pedigree? If the beginning of pedigree means absolute nothing. The beginning of pedigree is actually that you have a clear case of identity, that you know when and date of birth, when you were born, siblings, red neighbors, people who know you. That is the beginning of pedigree. Beginning of pedigree is that Mazezoke keep 1 naira for me, and Mazezoke did not commingle that money. That is what you call pedigree. You know, not being involved in illicit activities to the point where you're going to forfeit over 400 and something thousand. But simple question, an eloquent man, Jubri, suddenly becomes so dumb that he cannot
What he
answer
has achieved, how he has changed the revenue of Lagos State, how he
Yeah, the Mongo Park of Lagos State. Actually, when Mongo Park was discovered in River Niger, he was discovering Lagos. Late Jaconde, a legend who governed Lagos State. Actually, I mean, it means Jaconde did nothing. And actually, there was no hospital. In fact, there was no Molue in Lagos. Go and get when the British actually, when the British were still here, how Lagos looked and compare it to the Lagos of his dream and the Lagos that he built. In fact, the Lagos that he discovered. Suddenly, nobody could now tell them, "Oh, there is so much money." But how was
has
that
put
money
a
made?
long-term
How did he
plan
get
to
all of that?
implement infrastructure.
Honorable
Infrastructure. How he has ensured that he instilled discipline.
Honorable
How
Jibril.
much people that he has built.
Honorable Jibril.
These are the focus.
Say how much people that he has built. Innocent. You are building cars. Yeah. How much people that he has built. Just say how many people he has actually settled with money.
That we should concentrate on.
Honorable
Because
Jibril.
most of these political issues that we keep raising front and back will not solve the problem. So the emphasis now, the focus now should be on the capacity and the competence of this candidate.
Honorable Jibril, how did Bola Ahmed Tinubu make his money?
Hey, Chineke, sometimes Rufai can be very, very, Rufai can be very, very, how would I say that? To the point that he's after everything said, Oga, come back, tell us how did he make his money? How did he make his money? Huh? Even Odumeje will be confused in this case because everybody will be like, no, this is this is too much. Odumeje will look at it and say, no, this.
I have so many power. Le Baduse play Lamante. I have Abido Shaker. I have never touched those ones. I have Dabus Kabash. Yes. I have Ganduka Gandusan. Mbeg Iwalonios.
Maybe in the words of Odumeje, the reason why he hasn't actually done the reason why he cannot answer that question is because probably he has so many other powers. But the simple question, how did he make his money? Rufai, ask that question.
Honorable Jibril, how did Bola Ahmed Tinubu make his money? That's all I want to know. You can tell me what we can focus on. We'll talk about it in the manifesto. How did Bola Tinubu make so much money that he had a bullion van in his home on election day?
Answer now. How did he make that money that he has no answer? No answer. But no answer there. But if you now just oppose, if you just oppose that question and say we are not focusing on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because in the words of Wike, Njenje, that's Wike for you. Njenje. A little dose of this, a little dose of that. Like somebody on this on the chat comment actually said, what you have to then realize is that these people are telling you the reason. I think that's the money man. These people are telling you the reason why you must and why you should never vote for them. Because both of them are canceling themselves out. Both of them are just basically saying, we are all thieves. Both of them are telling you, oh, Nami thief pass. Here was Honorable Jubri being asked, how did Bola Ahmed Tinubu make his money? That question he couldn't answer. But on the other camp, you see a video of how Atiku actually did one or two things, then appeared. You watch, be the judge.
Governor Wike's crisis with Atiku did not begin during the PDP presidential primaries of 2022. Because way back in 2020, at the time when Atiku was seriously considering retirement, until his children literally, in his own words, forced him to run again, I was having a conversation via email with Atiku. I was complaining about the pulling down of a hotel for breaching COVID protocols in Port Harcourt by Governor Wike. I felt that behavior was confounding to me. Atiku had told me when the conversation went towards the presidential politics that, in his estimation, Wike will be a lame duck by 2022 because, in his own words, Wike cannot match him money for money because Wike will be saving up money for his retirement. There's nothing Wike was ever going to do that would have sat right with Atiku, especially because Atiku's cabal fear that Wike's strong personality will be a problem for them if they want to control him. And sure, they will want to control him because, after all, they have control over their own master. Now you are going to like this one. Governor Okowa of Delta State is Atiku's running mate for vice president. Prince Olatunji Olusoji is Okowa's senior special advisor on special duties. He's a party-loving man and spends his money on Atiku's campaign. But you can see from his WhatsApp chats and phone conversations with me that he does not want Atiku and Okowa to win. He uses very strong words like, Okowa must perish. He describes Atiku as being desperate, a betrayer, and deceitful. Prince Olatunji is angry about the looting of the resources of Delta State to fund Atiku's desperation. He goes on to assert very strongly that Governor Okowa, his employer, paid a bribe of $5 million to a certain General Gusau, who, along with the PDP chairman, Ayu, went around to meet some notable people in Nigeria to ensure that Okowa, rather than Governor Wike, emerged as, the VP candidate of the party. Listen very carefully to his words, read carefully his messages, and understand the true mind of genuine followers, supporters who are still within the system. Olusoji is not an ex-aide or a former aide like myself. He's currently serving, angry about both injustice, about corruption, and the likes. Will you also accuse him of having collected 200 million from some other opponent? Will he be called a blackmailer as well? Listen to the genuineness of his anger and understand the true state of mind of a lot of other Atiku supporters and aides, whose testimonies I will also be putting out in the sequel to this episode?
I think they say no get money again. Bro. They say not get the kind of money to take contest election now. What the shit? They say not get money this time to run this election. It's broke. But why Atiku go the fight Wike? Who are the Atiku's advisors? Okay, bro, see, now Okowa are you name is leader? Okowa are you? Especially are you? Okowa is using you to do the damage. But the damage will be for all of them now. If the entire party loses, nobody all of them lose. You know what happened? Before the primaries, Okowa and Ayu went round. Ayu carried Okowa. Okowa went to they gave General Gusa $5 million. Wow. So General Gusa went to work on IBB. Okay. IBB and General Gusa, IBB and General Gusa were the ones who imposed Okowa on Atiku. Okay. Yes, yeah. They were the ones. You don't see as Wiki disgrace Atiku. Yes, no. I support Wiki. I stand with Wiki. And you know, say Atiku they lie. He expose Atiku the way Atiku they talk lie. Atiku they lie. Yeah, he finish Atiku. Yes, no. Atiku knows about the plot. He was just going to deceive Wiki. Wiki don't disgrace our public now. You say your governor don't carry state enter debt, and he's saying collect loan of 140 billion over Atiku matter.
Now, you listen to that. Delta State now allegedly has incurred a debt of about $140 million just to procure this VP ship. And it appears it's the VP ship that is going to hit the rock, that the people of Delta State, obviously, haven't seen and known what is happening, are very likely to be rather angry that they are very unlikely to vote for that ticket. If you go to Atiku Gate Part 3, I mean, you can go, the video is on YouTube there. You can listen to the whole length of that video. The only reason why one is bringing that up here is for no other reason, is to just tell us that what we are all looking at is these two individuals are canceling themselves out. These two individuals are actually, accusing themselves, exposing themselves. The other day, Obunika Ohebu came out to expose Tinubu and the things he's done. We saw Daniel Boala on the other side exposing Tinubu, but on the other camp, Festus Kayamo, Femi Fani Kayode are also exposing Atiku. Fight dirty. Now, Nigerians, ask about this. There are three main candidates in this election. Two are basically not telling you what they will do. They are basically fighting themselves. You're a thief, you're a bigger thief, you're a thief, you're a bigger thief. But one man is busy going around Nigeria, mingling with Nigerians, letting Nigerians know what he is going to do. One man is busy walking around walking around Nigeria, that anywhere he goes, you think a rock star has come out. Those who have lost hope in Nigeria, those who at some point say, I beg to your tent, O Israel, those who basically at some point saying this nation will never work and is not working. Suddenly, everyone is now coming back to say, maybe actually, amongst all these men that we have, it might be a time to give it another trial. And we can see anywhere he goes, something like this. Now, this was when the man in question went to Plateau State. Normally, if it was other people that will run you off the street, there will be their own convoys will be everywhere. You won't even come close. But the citizens themselves haven't discovered that this is a property they own. On their own, decided that we are going to provide our own convoy. here you can see people. This is the 7-seater commonly used in the northern part of Nigeria. That is the VW Saran. You know, sadly the video is frozen, and you can see that that is a people's convoy. People are doing it for their own account. They buy the petrol for themselves. They do everything for themselves. Anyway, so when you watch something like this, you know, sometimes it could be gratifying. And we say, be very wise. The two parties that are telling that basically have called themselves thieves, that they've stolen us dry, that they are doing this and doing the other one. What it means is that these two parties are not fit for purpose. And because they're not fit for purpose, be very careful and walk away from them. On that note, I say that there isn't nothing else I can say, because this is a very dangerous game. In the words of Odumeje, something is moving there. Something
holding, tighten, and look down. Anything can happen. And the baby boy can enter in.
You know, two of them are holding themselves, tightening. Bola Tinubu and the other one, they're holding themselves. They are joined together by what? By one common thing, by looting. Atiku and Tinubu joined together by looting. Before I conclude, people, let me come down to the southeast. His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi this evening made a tweet. I had already yesterday morning, I made a tweet on this. Those that follow me, I woke up early hours of yesterday and I watched a video that violated me. A video where a man, by name Christopher Ohizo, who was before his death the Idato local government area of Imo State chairman. That man, like, you know, the type of things you see ISIS do, so barbaric, put on the floor, held by a couple of men, and his head severed from his body. Jesus. You know, since yesterday I've been saying I need to find a way to unwatch that video from my brain, because that is trauma. That video is trauma. I must tell us that video is traumatic. I don't know how to get that video off my head. That video is traumatic. This evening, Peter Obi tweeted, and he said that I condemn the gruesome killing of Christopher Rizu, the Idato local government chairman. Things like this ought not to happen. Insecurity remains a cause of concern. I commiserate with the Imo State government and the family of the deceased. You know, I think this is something that all of us, I can't even, you know, when someone sent me that video, I clicked on it and watched it. I couldn't even watch past maybe 4 seconds. I couldn't. But the one I watched a fellow human being held down with knife like chicken, like this, until in that pain, until his head came off the body. May his soul rest in peace. That brings me to the point, because I know that a staff member shared the story also on the community section, and yesterday I had time to read. And when I was reading, some of us are not getting it. This is irrespective of who has done this, whether it is your brother, your sister, my brother, my sister. It is terrorism. There is no way and there is no other how you describe terrorism. No man deserves to die in that manner. No man. Whoever was involved in that is nothing but terrorism. If you watch a preceding video to that, where they had his hands tied back and they were speaking to him, and there is no way you could convince anyone with any iota of gray matters in between the skulls to say that the reasons they narrated in that video in Igbo and the language also, the language within those vicinity where the issue happened. And that some of us will now come to say, oh no, it's not that there are certain people that they speak Igbo as well. They are the ones. Honestly, not only that conversation idiotic, it's satanic, and it also makes you that puts up such argument as someone who also supports such evil and someone who is also capable of engaging in such evil. Then I ask, where is our humanity? Where is our humanity? Because that somebody maybe disagrees or whatever with your opinion or what you call, fantasies you have of creating whichever narrative, and suddenly individuals and our brothers would have to lose their lives. Now, yesterday, I do not know if that was to be the army or who was behind it, but I also got a video where houses were then destroyed, still in Imo State. Oh, Jesus Christ. Imo State and some parts of Anambra that borders Imo State has become a death trap. On Njenje Media News, you can go there and read it, www.Njenje Media News, where yesterday someone wrote a piece that was published. And that piece narrated how in Anambra State, how he escaped the Onongo men. Onongo men, for me, are not other people than bunch of criminals and terrorists. People, the evil that I see happening in Anibo today would consume you that is even contributing money to fund it if we do not take back and retrace our steps today. When the Northeast started with the madness called Boko Haram, they thought they were doing Nigeria. Of course, yes, Nigeria has not been fair. And their elite, like our elite, have not been fair to the people. But then, the destruction of their environment is not a solution too. Thank God that to a point, the Niger Delta people now became smarter. If not, there was a time they were destroying their own ecosystem, destroying the environment, leading to environmental pollution, because eventually their children, yet unborn, their grandparents, their parents would then have to live in the same environment that they have caused in or helped in destroying. Of course, we do understand that there are some part of this ecosystem being destroyed by those who engage in mineral extraction. But greater part of it also is being destroyed when they now engage in, bombing the ecosystem. In Igbo, there is something we say. Ejune n'aha mmanụ, oche na ọ na-agbanyụ ọkụ, but ọ mara na ọnwụ ka ọ na-anwụ. That when the snail is thrown into fire, it will be foaming. That foam does not actually extinguish the fire. That foam is a sign that that snail is leaving the Mother Earth, literally translated. So there are some level of violence and destruction you will be engaging in your region, in your father's house. Don't think you're doing anybody. Don't think you're doing Nigerians. Don't think you're doing, because this is squarely, the destruction that is happening is squarely done by us. I don't see, at some point, we can only die once, but let us say the truth before we. I know many of you will not be happy with it, but who cares? At some point, you have to tell yourself the truth. If the insecurity you have in the Southeast today is born out of external insecurity, then our problem is 60% solved. I ask you today, your inability, you watching me now from the diaspora, for instance, your inability to come back home for Christmas, was that as a result of external threat or as a result of internal threat by your own siblings? Because if the only threat you have, if you're able to secure your place, if the only threat you have is those external threats, leave it. There are ways those external threats could be dealt with. No external threat can come to you like was done to this guy. Go to his house, abduct him from his house, take him inside the bush. Suddenly, Igbos that are builders wherever they go, suddenly we have come to a point where we now need to go to the bushes and begin to live like herdsmen. Come on. This is nothing but criminality. And it must stop. Because this is not who we are. In the last 52 weeks, the Southeast has lost about 4.6 trillion on the madness. And I repeat, since 18 months I've been calling it what it is, and I have never changed and I will never change. The madness called sit at home from day one. That's my adjective for that, and that's my classification of it. The madness called sit at home. You have bunch of non-entities sitting down somewhere in the diaspora, asking their moms, their dads, don't go out. If you come out, we'll shoot you. Yet the idiots who are doing that are going to work. On Mondays, they will go to work wherever they live. In the diaspora where they live, where they have electricity. Then forgetting that there is no social net, social structure to take care of the downtrodden in his own backyard, in his own home. But he will be threatening everybody that if you come out, we'll take your life. Jesus Christ. This is madness taken too far. Now this evening, no one knows who is behind it. There is no confirmation. Couple of houses were burnt. Now we don't know if it was a counter group, because it's just basically terror galore. This group burns this one. They tell you that the security agencies will come because they've lost men. They will go and burn properties. Even within those criminal gangs, they fight amongst themselves. But it is, you see, sometimes it's just that the whole thing is so blurry that people don't no longer pay attention. It is this, it is the other one, it is this, it is the other one. Suddenly, military aircraft are now beginning to be seen to fly low. It's not going to end well. I cannot forget what the former commissioner of Adamawa State once told me. Once I had a one-on-one interview with him, Ahmed Sajo, from Adamawa State. When everybody had left the Zoom meeting, he said, Mazezuka, I need to tell you something. He said, Maz, do whatever it is that is possible with your people not to allow the military a footing into the Southeast. He said, Mazi, what the Nigerian military had done in my state of Adamawa, that they are still suffering from it. Because when this issue of terror started happening, when there is an attack or anything happens, the guys leaves. When the military come in, they are not part of the society. They don't know. Even those that have committed the crime, there is no stamp in their face to know that this person belongs to this camp or the person belongs to another camp. When the military come in, what suffers is that every single young person in that community becomes a suspect. And he said that there are people, even when someone is deaf, he doesn't even know. They can be going, the military says, hey, stop there, stop there. Deaf, he doesn't know. They don't even know, because if the person is wearing this long agbada, whether he has a gun in his waist or not, they don't know. The next thing is shoot, kaboom. It's only when they come close that they might find out either he has a stick, a walking stick, but when it's a little bit dark, they do not know. So do not do anything to invite the military in your space. But tell me, when you shoot police on the street, today police can no longer, we are now, everybody is crying, there is no police anywhere, there is no police. But some people were cheering when police were being massacred every single day. Some people were cheering when police stations that we built with our own money were being burned on a daily basis. And yet we have our brothers and sisters who have brought this calamity from the diaspora onto us. Mostly brainwashed, if you ask me. I'm being honest, I'm angry at the same time. Because the lives that we have lost is not, it's pure madness. In the same Imo State, how can I grew up knowing to respect elders, especially the vulnerable ones. But here, we have a generation that will see an old woman sick, vulnerable. Her crime is that she was sick on a Monday, being taken to hospital by a daughter-in-law that is pregnant. And they wasted her life, wasted the life of the woman that was taking her to hospital on a Monday, and the baby in the womb. You know, how do you explain that in this planet Earth? How? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. At this point, you know, it makes me sick. I don't know what you think. Maybe I would ask if you want to, we may have to look for collective. You know, it's a topic that many of you shy away. It's a topic also I don't want to discuss on a daily basis, but I know that many of you, out of certain, considerations, shy away from that. But again, as long as we keep running away from this issue, there is not going to be any solution. We must speak to ourselves. We are not barbarians, but we are turning to barbarians. We are turning to barbarians. The sad part is those who started this, out of, sometimes when you tell our brothers, can we come down on some of these emotions? You get insulted. But yet, when you act on emotion, leaving strategy behind, it's based on emotion. If your reactions are only based on emotion, you are definitely are going to be burned. because you haven't sat back to think about your exit strategy from the beginning, ab initio. We haven't. You haven't sat back to think about it. It's just about reaction. That Mr. A in one region did something like this does not mean it fits you and you must do it in that same way. You could retweak. No, I blame the failure of leadership in the Southeast squarely. Just like my mentor and legend, late Professor Chinua Achebe, would say, the failure, or rather the trouble with Nigeria, is squarely about leadership. Then I will dare say that the trouble in Anibo today is squarely on the failure of leaders of its political leadership. Now I ask, are we idiots? Are we cucumbers and are we carrots? If the leadership has failed us, if the leadership has failed us, then you are doing a greater injustice to yourself by failing yourself too. And that's exactly what we are doing, failing ourselves. My heart bleeds that our mothers are now being hunted down by our siblings out there. You dare not now buy a good car and go down to your place like you used to do 3, 4, 5 years ago. You dare not. You dare not do that. Because if you do, you will die. Suddenly, it beats me that we are on our own like the Northeast. We sat down here, we were saying, these people, they are mad. Or how can they be destroying their place now? Blah, 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 blah. But now, before our own very eyes, in the words of Chief Zebuda Okoligunwo, if you want to join me, the link to join is in the comment section. Chief Zebuda Okoligunwo, Elias 430 will say, before my own very before our own very eye, we are destroying the little we have. People, I will share with us some things that are happening now. As a result of this increase in criminality and terrorism, there is no other two ways. You don't sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat it. As a result of this barbarism, that we now kill people at will. Do you know what it means? Gosh. We now kill people at will without even thinking twice. Different in ideas. I do not agree with you. I do not agree with your Weltanschauung, which we call worldview. I don't agree with that. You say we need to go through this direction. That is the only way. Else everybody dies. Then some people will tell you, damn F it. Because if that is, as they say, if that is how the taste of what you're proposing is going to look like, then some people will say, F it. Because how are you going to, how are you going to live in that manner? How? People will say, F it. Let me share us some video so that we'll see what I mean. When military has any incursion in a civilian space, the outcome is never good. The outcome. Let me find the video. The outcome is never good. Let me share this video. In my heart, not is 2 years ago, we were bragging, people of Southeast, anywhere we go, we don't go and live in the bush. We'll build houses. We'll rent homes. Today, in our own homeland, even when we have no forest, we now occupy forest and we now live in forest. Alume, how has the mighty fallen? How? Let's see what the military, what the military incursion today. And definitely when the military come, they destroy the little you have. And that's why I will never forget those words by Sajo. When Sajo says, do not allow these people to ever come near your space. Allowing them not to come near your space is by means of provocation. Do not provoke them. Because they can do silly things. And they do silly things. They do silly things. Okay. So let's watch. Now you can see in the southeast, fighter jets are now flying low, as if we are as if we are in the northeast, as if we are in the Zambiza forest. You can see fighter jets there. How did we get here that fighter jets will now come low? When a fighter jet fires, the southeast is the smallest and the most dense part of Nigeria. The whole of southeast, Anambra, Abia, Imo, Ebonyi, and Enugu, the whole of southeast is just roughly the size of Kogi State. Yet, mostly with the largest concentration of millionaires, heavily, densely populated. The so-called bushes we have, can't remember any bush that might be even more than 10 kilometers, if at all. I can't remember, maybe in Abia State, maybe, or Ebonyi, I don't know. But in Anambra State, I can't remember any part of any bush that will be one end to one end, maybe 5 kilometers. I can't. And here we have helicopter flying low. If one of those bombs goes out by mistake, if he fires, imagine one of them goes out and our moms are in the market square buying and selling, and they land there. Just imagine the calamity that will befall us. Imagine that while this is happening, you have a mishap in any of our nursery, primary, secondary school, where our children, our brothers and our sisters have gone to learn. Imagine what then will be the calamity. Must we bring this onto ourselves? And some people will say, why would the military come in there? If the police feels overpowered by the virtue of the fact that there was a systematic destruction of their infrastructure, taking them out one by one. On the street, we saw them, to the point that some, at some point, were actually clapping when this madness was happening. And it's gotten to this. Let me not talk again. Let's watch.
Cloud the plantain.
Sorry, the video appears not to be playing. I don't know. It appears my internet is not playing. So for many of you within the Njenje Media WhatsApp group, I could share this video in that group so you can watch the video from that group there, because this is not playing out. Someone was saying that Caesar was deleted inside Rome's Republic because it dared to turn army towards Italy and Rome. This is what the Nigerian military is currently doing in Nigeria. We must speak the truth to resist them. About 2 months ago, nobody thought about that something like that would ever happen in Europe. In Germany, to be precise, there was a rumored push. What the military in English call coup d'etat. However awkward and silly and stupid it sounded, but no sovereignty will allow another to arise within a republic or within a sovereign nation. It will be crushed. In Germany, not in 1950. I think it should be around December. Yeah. I think around December thereabout. Coup. And it was crushed. Police everywhere. While I think that it is also stupid for the Nigerian army to go in there with the level of force and destruction that they are doing, and that must be condemned by every single person of conscience. But you also have to ask yourself, those that engage in these activities are also civilians. If you are part of the Nigerian army, you walk into a society where you know nobody and you understand nothing about that, everybody there is a suspect. I don't know. But I think I found it very hard because some of us also, maybe out of ignorance or sheer mischief, would always say, "Oh, yeah, why are they doing the? Why is military bringing in trucks or bringing in this in the southeast? What have they done to the north?" I say, I tell you, find a northerner, a commoner, to tell you the truth, the atrocities the military is committing up north. The level of when I say wipe out, bombing and wipe out is unimaginable. It's no longer being reported. Who cares? At this point, the only thing is because in these areas, we are lucky that we are able to get some of these footages out, because at least you know that people have internet, people have telephones. There are areas where in these electioneering things one has learned, look, I have a state coordinator in certain states in the north that They will use only a chapa, that's motorcycle, to go for about 2 hours in, to do data collection and to do some mobilization. Because there is no network for about 2 hours riding, they now have to come to certain local governments where they will see 2G in order to begin to do any form of work. That is the same Nigeria. You know, head or tail, I believe and I blame leadership in what is happening. The political leaders have not done the right thing. They have weaponized poverty. And when the people are poor, just like someone says, there is no way the rich can sleep if the poor are hungry. The rich must stay awake. But in staying awake, must you then begin to do evil to yourself? Because what is happening now is nothing else than terrorism. There is no painting it anyhow on outside. It's nothing rather than terrorism. On that note, I say good night, everybody. My name remains Messier. Okay, if you haven't subscribed to this platform, by all means do. And I pray for peace to reign in the Southeast. I pray that the gods of our fathers, Njenje and Njenje, I pray that this level of blood, which is very, very uneven, growing up, I've never seen this level of bloodletting, that our ancestors will help us with ourselves, that the land must be cleansed, that the land must be cleansed. Good night, everyone. One man went to the mall. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, guys. Gerard Oba, thank you very much for joining. Fred Rhyme, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Luna Demeka. Adama Ogun, thank you. It says, what led to this? So, guys, it's either we keep living in denial or we wake up and take the bull by the horn. Good night.
Record. Are you obedient? I am obedient. Are you obedient? We are obedient. Now my president you be. Me I want better tomorrow. Me no want to load. No. That the person will be me. If you want better tomorrow, no go vote to load. No. I am a let's go as you see me so at the front line. No. At the front line. No. Put you one mind. Make we unite, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Situation don't they get a CD. My brother, sister, get your BBC. Make we unite, make we both you be. Now my president, you be. Me, I want better tomorrow. Me no want to load. No. Not the person will be. If you want better tomorrow, no go for to load. No. If you don't want to be, it means say you don't want to be.
Ana son ci gaban Najeriya a zaba Peter.
Fún ìlọsíwájú orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà, dìbò fún Pétérù Òbí.
Maka ọdịmma Nàìjíríà, ka anyị tụnyere Peter Obi.
Vote Peter
Vote Peter Obi.
Vote Peter Obi.
Vote Peter Obi.